Hey my friend, in this video I'm gonna show you the top 10 chord shapes you can learn from the album Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. This is an album that influenced a lot of the chord shapes I'm using today, and it's going to be fun. So just before I give you my top 10, we gotta talk about the famous chord relationship that is all over the place in this album. I'm talking about choosing a minor chord from the 6th string, let's say G minor, and then playing another chord a fourth apart and playing a dominant 7 chord. So it's super easy. If you were on the 6th string like this, you just have to jump one string. So now I am on the 3rd fret 5th string, and then I build a dominant 7 chord from here. And that is the chord relationship that is all over this album. So if you want to sound like Pink Floyd, you can use those 2 chords right here, and you will see they are in almost more than half of the songs on this album right here. So let's start with my number 1 chord shape, and it's the first chord in the song Breathe. Many people just play a regular E minor chord here. But in fact, if you listen closely, most of the times, Gilmour is gonna add a little 9th in the chord to give a little friction. This little is inside the chord right here. And this is a chord that I love to use. So you can use your pinky on the 4th fret, 4th string, or your ring finger. It doesn't really matter. For me, it's more comfortable with the pinky. So that's a cool chord right here. The second chord is in the same song. That's a super thick C major 7. So after these 2 chords, you get a super thick C major 7. So usually C major 7 is like a regular C, but you remove your pinky, your index, sorry. And it creates a C major 7, but they're gonna add a low G at the bottom here to thicken the chord. And it sounds huge, so I love to play it like this so that I can put my index back on the 1st fret of the 2nd string if I want to play as a regular C major chord or a C major 7, right? Chord number 3 is also in Breathe. It's when they play at the end of the chord progression. They play a D dominant 7 with a sharp 9. So that's the Jimi Hendrix chord, right? Right? But they just play it 2 frets below. And then they're going to transform it into a D dominant 7, but with a flat 9 instead of the sharp 9. So you start here, you take that note 2 frets down, and it creates a super tense chord that usually wants to resolve on G major. But in this song, they actually resolve this chord on E minor. And it works just as well because the G major chord and the E minor chord are relative chords. They share exactly the same notes in their keys, it's just in a different order. So that's why using a tense chord like this works to resolve on E minor. So I found that this chord was really, really interesting. At number 4, we now go in the song Time, which goes like this. And what I love is that they're gonna play little 6th intervals like these to fill up the rest of the A major chord. Those little shapes right here. It's really beautiful, it's great as embellishments, and I've been using these notes for so long. I just added another note at the bottom, and it creates what we call spread triads. If you want to learn spread triad chord shapes, this is what I teach in my free mini course. You can click on the first link in the description box below. I offer free chord charts and exercises, and you can play those types of chords all over the fretboard in any key you want. So if you're new here, you can get it, first link in the description box. So it's great in that song to fill in the little space, so I love those little sixth interval shapes. At number 5, we go in the song Great Gig in the Sky, the epic intro on piano that goes like this. And then this chord right here, that's a Lydian chord that is based on a nasty tritone at the bottom right here, and then the piano does. But it's cool to play it on guitar too. So you could call this a Lydian chord because of the sharp 4 right here. But you could also see it as a G dominant 7, but with a different bass note. So the G dominant 7 could sound like this, with an added ninth on top. So it depends how you see it. F Lydian or a G dominant 7 with the flat 7 on the bass right here. And then if we stay in the same song, number 6, that's a G minor 7, but in a specific voicing that sounds so much like Pink Floyd. This is this voicing here. Right? So I prefer to play it with finger picking so that I can skip the 5th string, which I don't need to play. And this is an iconic Pink Floyd-like voicing for a minor 7 chord, because most of the times when we think about playing, let's say a G minor 7, we're gonna play it like this. That's the most common shape for a minor 7. But this one, with the minor 7th on top as the highest note, that makes me think all the time of the Great Gig in the Sky. And then it's super cool because when you want to transition on the C dominant 7, it's super smooth. You don't have to move a lot. It's super, super close. And that's the same chord relationship I was talking about, right? The minor chord followed by the 4 chord in a dominant 7 voicing right here. So that's super cool. At number 7, I'm gonna take a little chord embellishment in the song Money, right? So the song that goes. But this is just a riff. Those are not chords, right? But on top of it, they're gonna play something like this. Some people would argue that you could only slide it like this, which sounds just as good, but I'm actually going to keep the note in the middle on the 7th fret. So I'm just gonna add 2 fingers, but this one is gonna stay here. Why? Because it follows that logic that it sounds like a dominant 7 chord. So in fact, when we're playing this, it's like we're playing B minor followed by E dominant 7, which is exactly what we've been talking about this whole lesson. So to me, it just makes more sense to go like this. So when you play it on top of the little riff, so I love it to play it like this. Little chord embellishment like this. At number 8, we're going to the song Us and Them. There is a beautiful D sus2 chord. So this is an easier shape, I find, for a D sus2 to play. You could play it this way too, but this one is cool. The regular D major triad is supposed to be like this, with your pinky on the 7th fret of the 2nd string. But when you suspend it on the 2nd, it just sounds sweeter. It sounds more mysterious almost. And what I love about this chord is that it's gonna keep it symmetrical and slide it 2 frets higher. which is cool, but then they're gonna play a D minor major 7. That's right, this chord right here. Super tense chord. So actually, when you're gonna add a 7th in your chord, most of the time it's gonna be either a major 7 or a minor 7, but it's rarely going to blend both together. So you're usually going to get a chord like this. So that's a D major 7. Or you're gonna get this, which is a D minor 7. But actually, we blend a little bit of both. We have the minor 3rd interval at the bottom, but we have the major 7 interval at the top, and we call this a minor major 7 chord. That has an eerie feeling. That's a bold choice in that song, but I love it. It doesn't sound like what we usually hear. And then it resolves just as well at the end, so we don't really bother about this one right here. So I said we were at number 8, so at number 9, we're gonna go to the song Brain Damage. It starts with a just regular D. And then we have a super easy shape of a G dominant 7 to play. Right? So you just open the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings, and you play the 1st fret on the 1st string. So this is a G dominant 7. We just remove the bass note, which should have been here. Right? But the lowest note is gonna be a D right here. And this is a shape that you can transpose. If we play that, if we consider that we were barring, let's say, the fret 0, because it's open strings, we could slide it elsewhere. So the last chord in this progression is actually an A dominant 7 with this voicing. And then we go back to D, which is really cool, right? So a good G dominant 7 with a bass of D. And chord number 10 is actually in the same song. It's when we take the D chord, and we slide it 2 frets higher, and it's again a little Lydian sound, a little sharp 4, sharp 11 kind of sound. So I love this sound. It's from hearing this song, I started to experiment just shifting the D-shaped chord around. Super cool. And one last one. I said top 10, but let's do an 11th one. On the last song, Eclipse, you can take the D shape, remove your middle finger, and put it on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. And that creates a sort of D sus2 with a bass of C. And that's a great progression to end an album. It just sounds nostalgic. It sounds, I don't know, there's something to it, to this progression. And then we have a B flat chord like this, which sounds super cool, once again with a little sharp 11 kind of sound. And this actually makes me think of a spread triad chord if we add this note right here. This is a chord that I love to use. Talking about spread triad, once again, I invite you to enroll in my free mini course on ambient guitar chords, where I show you how to play spread triads in all keys, major, minor, suspended chords. I show you everything there needs to be known. And you can download the chord charts, the exercises, so you can click first link in the description box. It's my gift to you if you are a new viewer. Just take it. People love it. My students love it. So it's my pleasure. And I'll see you in another video real soon. Until next time, au revoir.